This is the best of the Tory Lowe Show on 1017 The Truth and The Truth app. Catch the Tory Lowe Show every weekday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
All right, so check this out. Yesterday I said that the Epstein files were out here, and they got all these names, and people are going back and forth. And I said it must be something that we're missing, that we're not paying attention to. And I said, I'm going to start to try to find out what that is. And I think I got it. I think I got it, Truth Nation. Open up your ears and walk with me for a second. So everybody on the Epstein list, all these celebrities, all these names, no matter who it is on the list, some of these people have been in leadership of the culture, of the political, for the last, 30, 40 years. I'm talking about in high positions, gatekeeping. And now they done lined these people up and put them out there in alphabetical order. In alphabetical order, Andrew. So this leads me to believe that they're discrediting these people, even if they weren't on the island. They're trying to, they got these people discredited now. Because I even seen Whoopi Goldberg on The View trying to defend herself. You know, first it was everybody on the Epstein list go to jail, or, we got to do something about it. Now people backpedaling, selective outrage now, trying to make sense of their favorite person. Man, it may not have been this, it may not have been that. All I'm saying is forget all of that. What I'm seeing is all of these people associated with Epstein is from the old guard, and now they are done with these people. They like now their time is up. They already have whatever they agreed to do, they have already done it. Look, how old is Donald Trump? Like 78? How old is Whoopi Goldberg? How old is Oprah Winfrey? How old is these people? Like, they got to be like the 50s and the 60s. They got to be in their 50s and 60s. And yeah, Trump is 79, but I'm talking about a lot of these people been around for the last 30, 40 years. So now they're on the list, and people are coming at them hard. They don't care who it is. It's people in Milwaukee that they coming at hard on the list. And what I'm saying is, I think that now they're moving and transitioning into a new era, and these people need to go by their way. They're not going to go to jail. They're not going to arrest them. They just, we done. We finna move into a different space now. And while all of this is going on, while all of the confusion with Epstein is going on, guess what's happening? The infrastructure for the data centers and all of that is being built right now. You see people on the news complaining about these data centers and the infrastructure that is taking place right now. You don't see a lot of people in the uprising. You don't see a lot of people in the uproar over the data centers, at least not in Milwaukee. But what I'm saying is this infrastructure is being built while all of this is going on. And a lot of these old heads, they don't want to get caught up in social media. They don't want to use AI. They don't want to be a part of the social media era. That was not their time. So now this is the sign to me for these people to move on. Y'all did a good job. Move on. We finna get some new people in here. And guess who's gonna be happy when y'all see the new people coming? The people. We are. Because now we got this sick idea of these people doing things to children, and they was hanging out with these pedophiles. So when the new people come in, we gonna be clapping for them. We gonna be excited. Oh, at least it ain't them. And it's gonna be a new regime. It's going to be a new regime. I say in the next couple years, once they get this infrastructure with the data centers and all of that, once they get it all set up, now we're going to start seeing new people pop up, people that want to work with the new technology, people that are have ideas on how to work the new technology, and we just gonna move into the new era, whatever that look like. Because I wasn't at that meeting. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but it sounds to me that they have dismissed all of the old guard, Diddy, even Jay-Z catching smoke. All of the gatekeepers have been dismissed. Because now when you see them, all they're going to do is ask them about Epstein. Oprah even had to say something. Look how long Oprah been gatekeeping. Look at what I'm saying. Understand what I'm saying, Truth Nation. No matter what they did, their time is going to be up. And now the new young leadership with the new fresh ideas leading into the new technology is going to be up next. Watch and see. I'm going to say it ahead of time. I'm telling y'all ahead of time. This is the transition. I'll call it the transitioning period. And guess who's going to be excited to see the new leadership? You. You're going to be excited because they don't look like the old guard that could have been in one of them basements with them kids. And y'all going to be clapping for them. Now, I said I wasn't going to say anything about this Epstein situation unless somebody going to jail, unless somebody get arrested. And they must have been listening. They must have been listening, Truth Nation. Salute to everybody joining the show in the chat. Salute. Let me get my chat. Let me see who in the chat right quick. S.E. Kawanda in the chat. Salute, Kawanda. Jeff in the chat. FAM Squad, FAM Squad in the chat. What it do? Sincere Runny Ray Real is in the chat. Okay, I said that I wasn't going to say anything about the Epstein files unless somebody going to jail. Well, lo and behold, I look up and they're saying that Prince Andrew has been arrested. Prince Andrew has been arrested, or they done brought him up on charges associated with maybe some of the Epstein situation. Well, we got video on this if you're watching and listening as we broadcast live on 1017 The Truth on YouTube. We got video. Let's listen.
We are joined now by Epstein survivor Marina Lacerda, and we should note Marina is joining us from an airport, so if you're hearing any background noise, that's why. Marina, thank you so much for coming on with us. We don't know the charges just yet, but what's your initial reaction to the arrest of former Prince Andrew?
Well, first of all, this is a huge step. There has been an arrest, right? So that means investigations will happen. And I think that's what's important here. It's important that they are taking steps. And I think that, as Americans, we need to take a look at ourselves and say, hey, what are we doing here in our country? What are we doing to take action and bring accountability? And I think this is the biggest question. But as for, former Prince Andrew, I'm, very thrilled to say this is just the beginning of what I think is going to be very big.
Hey, see, this is what I'm talking about. It can't be all these people allegedly out here. Well, I don't even know if I want to say allegedly now because they done already did the dump and they got all the names. So I said I was going to put this to the side because I believe they playing in our face. But we got an arrest. They ain't put out the details. But Prince Andrew has been arrested in the UK. Reese in the chat says a lot of dethroning going on in the UK. But I think this is a good move right here. I think this is a good move because this is not, now I haven't heard anybody from the list recently that been put out there in the US on that list have been arrested. But I think that now the dominoes may start to fall because Prince Andrew has been outcasted from royalty.
Yeah, he lost his title, Tory.
Yeah, he lost his title. Now they calling him Andrew. I'm just messing with you, Andrew. But Prince Andrew, or the former Prince Andrew, has been ousted. So I hope that he stays alive to tell what he saw. I hope that he starts spilling the beans because he knows. He was in the rooms. He was around. Matter of fact, Epstein was like, "Look, I got a prince in here." He was parading him around inside the island. So what do Prince Andrew know? Reese said, if the Prince Andrew dethroned, why Trump? I don't know. They should. If Trump got some dirt and something comes out on Donald J. Trump, he need to be arrested. Just like the Clintons, just like anybody on that list, if they got real victims attached to their name, they need to be up under the jail. Simple as that. Simple as that. Ain't no configuration, ain't no stuttering. See, ain't no selective outrage because I deal with these situations. I don't even care who it is. If you dealing with people in a certain way and violating people, you need to be up under the jail. Period. No speculation. Ain't no speculation. Ain't no rationing. Understand what I'm saying? A lot of y'all that got selective outrage since the listing came out. A lot of y'all backtracking. If it's your favorite person, you backtracking on it. Oh, wait a minute. Let's investigate now. You know. Let's look into this. Hold on. Maybe they wasn't there. See, I ain't backtracking. Every last person on that list, I don't care if it was my grandmama. Understand what I'm saying? I don't care if it's you. I don't care if it's Andrew. If Andrew's on that list and there was a victim that said Andrew had did something, there's going to be a lot of rumbling up in the 101.7. We're going to be rumbling around.
Whoa.
I'm going to try to get you there. I'm going to try to get you down there to the 1st district. I'm just saying, anybody can get it when it comes to touching on these little kids. That's all I'm saying. Y'all got selective outrage. Y'all, well, he may not have did that because it's your favorite person. You bought it out. You done turned into a bot. Beep, 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 beep. You a bot. Yeah, you done canceled yourself. Keep that same energy for everybody. This is what I don't like. When it fits your political narrative, that's when you got all the smoke. But when it don't fit your political narrative, that's what let me know what type of person you is. That means you ain't gonna say nothing till they get you in that back room. And then now you want to come and try to fight for everybody's rights because you got violated. No, it's people out here saying what happened. Salute. I'm happy that Prince Andrew done got arrested. Now, hopefully he can tell. He can, take a deal. Hopefully they try to get him for a lot of years and he just spilled the beans and start knocking down all these dominoes.
So these misconduct charges, Tory, that he's facing in Great Britain, up to 60 years in prison.
60 years in prison. See, he gonna talk. He used to royalty. He used to sleeping on the best beds. He used to being in 5-star hotels. He used to traveling the world on his family's expense. Now they finna put him in a cell. Okay, I bet you he started talking. I bet you he started, as soon as he spent one night, when did they arrest him? Recently? He spent a couple nights in the real jail.
Yeah, that happened this morning USA time, midday Europe time.
Yeah, so give me a couple days. Give it a couple days. Especially if he see a rat run past. If he gave him one of them old decrepit jails. Now, sometimes they go to the real expensive jails where it look like a hotel.
I don't think he's going to an expensive jail.
Yeah. So if he get in one of them jails where you see a cockroach, he can try to tell you we're going to get names by the end of next week.
Well, if I know anything from watching movies, Tori, you know the real life. I just see movies. But, like, the minute you get somebody and you start squeezing them, they start giving some names. So
Right.
we could get some actual names here, not Epstein list names, like from Prince Andrew's mouth names.
But what I'm saying is, if anybody would know, it would be Prince Andrew. He probably know where all the bones at. So it's one domino. Hopefully, we don't hear a report that he took his own life. Hopefully, you know that's the story that they use with Epstein. What you say, Andrew? Andrew, what happened to his victim?
So this goes back to a book that got published by one of the survivors about, I think, 7 years ago now. But she ended up committing suicide in Australia. So this is, there's a lot of connections here, a lot of ties.
Minister Kevin says, would you be okay with Andrew getting immunity if he spills the beans? I don't think they would actually give him immunity, but they probably reduce his sentence. I don't think he's getting immunity, Minister Kevin. I believe that instead of 60 years, he might see freedom in about 15. I don't think he's getting immunity at all. No, he's not going. I don't believe that's going to be on the table. That's why they saying he's facing 60.
66 right now.
66 years. So what I'm saying is, okay, if you want to be out in 10, tell on your friend. Get 10 and tell on a friend. That's what, that's what may happen. Martin Luther King saw it coming because he kind of had time to sit back and say, okay, we got this part, but man, this is due to the corruption. He even said something about Sodom and Gomorrah. It's Black History Month. It's February 16th. And many times when we talk about Black History Month, I think we get excited at first, and then all of a sudden as it goes on, we kind of just simmer down a little bit. We kind of go back into our old ways and just try to survive. Some of us living in survival mode, so we ain't got time to think about a lot of things. But on the Tory Lowe Show, I want to make sure that the fire don't die out. The flames stay ignited. And many times it's not the traditional ideas that we need to focus on. It's what they try to hide, from us. And I try to tell people, we get excited about our ancestors. A lot of people talk about ancestry, and a lot of people talk about like the road that was paved. But many times, a lot of our leaders, when they sit back and think about some of the things that was going on, they kind of give out clues that, hey, we may have this, even though we did this right, we may not have done this right, because nobody's perfect. And I know we put our people on a pedestal, many times when we know that they have accomplished great things, and that's fine. But on the journey, sometimes when there's no blueprint and you're creating the path, and sometimes, you got to create a path because it wasn't even there at first. I understand what I'm saying. But Martin Luther King, during his latter years, created the path of integration and civil and human rights and things like that. But toward the end, a lot of people started coming forward saying Martin Luther King was kind of doubting what he was doing as far as like being blacks integrating. And he had a lot of different things that we don't hear, a lot of speeches that we don't hear. And this is why I always try to bring it back up so we don't forget. We got the Martin Luther King, I had a dream Martin Luther King, but there was also a Martin Luther King that was kind of analyzing the movement and where he was at that present time. And I don't want y'all to forget that. I don't want to forget it, because this is where we got to pick up the baton. We got to pick that baton up. We don't want to recreate with our ancestors in the struggle. We want to pick up the baton and run our own race and improve things like that. And I think a lot of people, they always want to redo what has been done. And then they say, look, I was able to do the same thing as the people that came before me. No, you got to you got to take it to the next step. And many times we forget that that's a part of the journey, is to invent and take things to the next space and not repeat what our ancestors did because it was already done. That's why I don't like when people always say they want to have this big Martin Luther King speech. Even toward the end of Martin Luther King's journey, he had doubt that what he was saying may have been something that have jeopardized the black community. This is what his friends was talking about. Belafonte he's online talking about what Martin Luther King's last thoughts was, and understand he wasn't all the way there when he was doing the civil rights movement. It had never been done. So he don't know. He's just going with the current. And then all of a sudden, once he had time to think about it, he had some thoughts that we don't even hear. If you were listening as we broadcast live, I want to play some of those last thoughts from Martin Luther King, which is very crucial. If you're listening, we got audio. Tap in.
Dr. King ever said to me 5 days, as a matter of fact, before he was murdered, was he was at my home. We had just finished a strategy meeting on the Poor People's Campaign. And he seemed quite agitated after what we thought was a very successful gathering and discussion. And he said to me, I said, what's the matter, Martin? You seem very agitated. He said, well, I am. Because I've come upon a thought that I don't know how to deal with at this moment. I said, well, what is it? He said, we fought long for integration. It looks like we're going to get it. I think we get the laws. He says, but I'm afraid that I've come upon something I don't know quite what to do with. I'm afraid that we're integrating into a burning house. And when we asked for further clarification, Andy Young was with me at that time, my wife, others. He said, America's lost whatever little moral vision it had. Its moral sense has run away from the nation. And a nation that is not governed by morality and moral principles is a nation that's headed for an abyss. And I think black people have been struggling to get into this system, maybe getting into a system that in the final analysis is a Sodom and Gomorrah, will not work. Because its selfish goals, its need for profit, its need for supremacy, its need to be the best has clouded its moral vision.
Oh, wow.
And with no moral vision, no nation can be healthy enough to lead its people anywhere.
Listen to what he was saying. This is one of his buddies. Like, to me, without any moral vision, it's gonna fall apart at the seams. That's what you see right now, is that the moral vision is lacking. It's not strong. And this is what Martin Luther King was talking about. Stuff that you could open up your window and look outside and see what Belafonte was saying. And he was there. He helped Martin Luther King. He sponsored a lot of this stuff that was going on with the civil rights movement as well. And we got to listen to these final words, because these are crucial words, so we can get the upper hand or get the heads up on moving forward. And I was telling somebody, I said, this is how Martin Luther King knew we was going into a burning house. What he meant was we was about to financially be stripped with integration. We were going to lose everything we had just to join in, due to greed, due to immorality, And I was telling somebody, and people get mad when I say this, but it's the truth. In many black communities, you can't walk down the street and get a soda, a bag of chips, and a Little Debbie snack cake from a black man, from a black business. Understand what I'm saying? So this is the burning house economically that Martin Luther King saw coming. And when I ask people this, they don't even think about that, because we've been integrated and we don't mind, because we don't think about the black dollar circulating in the community. We don't think about that. We just go buy our business, go shopping, get what we want, go home. Consumers. But understand what I just said. That should make you feel some type of way if your purchases, the majority of your purchases are coming from somebody that don't even look like you. Well, I guess you say, hey, the bad customer service. I guess some of y'all gonna find a way to legitimize why this is happening. But if you can't circulate the dollars in your neighborhood You'll never gain economics or wealth because the dollars are flying outside of the neighborhood into other neighborhoods, and that's integration. That's integration. So when you talk about integration and you talk about Martin Luther King's last thoughts about it, he saw what was going to happen. He saw the future. He saw that we were going to lose our baseball leagues. We were going to lose everything we built from scratch. And that was the fire. That was the burning house that he was talking about. And it's here. It's here. Even when my grandma was coming up, there were a lot of black-owned businesses. You could go and see stores that were black-owned and things like that. It's 2026, and you got to look for them with a magnifying glass. And then we are spending 6 hours. They say 6 hours our money spent up in the black community. In 6 hours, it's gone, circulating in other neighborhoods. Martin Luther King saw it coming because he kind of had time to sit back and say, okay, we got this part, but man, this is due to the corruption. He even said something about Sodom and Gomorrah. We got guests. We got Thomas Content in studio, Executive Director of Citizens Utility Board of Wisconsin, Inc. And we got Antonio Butts in studio as well. Hey, look, we had a whole conversation for the last couple months about these data centers.
That's right.
And a lot of people on the outskirts of Milwaukee are on the news protesting these data centers due to maybe environmental, maybe electricity surges in the community, and maybe other things. But I'm happy you're here because I want to know what's really going on and what should the concern be. Because last week we talked about there was a news article about the We Energy preparing for a surge due to these data centers.
That's right.
And I had a question. Will the cost be passed on to the people?
That's the big question, and we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. So, yeah, at CUB, we're the consumer advocate for all the ratepayers across the state, We Energies and otherwise. And the big difference between the data centers we've already had and the new ones is AI. And AI is just it's an aircraft carrier size of energy use. That's how much it is. You talk about how long We Energies has been around since the 1890s.
Right.
1890s to today, they've gone from zero demand for electricity to 5,000 megawatts. And now just these two projects, so they have 1.1 million customers, right? And these two projects is like adding another 1.1 million customers just for two projects in Port Washington and for Microsoft and Racine. So that it's orders of magnitude, which is why they just filed proposals to build, count it, $6 billion of new power plants and upgraded power plants.
Oh, wow.
And the concern is who's going to be paying for that? And you know, the concern is the tech companies have all the money and they should be paying for it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they got money. So why would any cost be passed on to us? That's lack of leadership and negotiation to me if that happens. So I would put the onus on our elected officials to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and they have filed a proposal. We Energies has filed a proposal with the Public Service Commission, which is, you know, the agency that regulates the monopolies, and they call it their ratepayer protection plan. And they've been saying all the right things, and the tech companies have been saying all the right things, but once our economists and our team of experts dug into it, it's like, well, here's a loophole. Up, here's another one. We could be on the hook for a quarter of the cost of all this new power plants. We could be on the hook for the transmission line costs for the giant transmission lines that have to feed these babies. So there's a lot of risk here.
Before the day,
Antonio, how you doing, Antonio?
Good.
Let's get his mic up.
All right.
Speaking to them a little bit. But I wanted to ask you a question. You know, I live on the north side where people struggle just with what's going on with We Energies right now.
Right.
Many times after April, you know, now that they released, lift the moratorium, and now people trying to figure out how they're going to pay this.
That's
this bill after the wintertime. So when you're talking anything extra, it just makes me nervous.
Yeah. So before the data center issue emerged and has become, this huge topic and huge capital spend, energy affordability has been an issue in Milwaukee for quite a while.
Right.
And so I'm over at Walnut Way Conservation Corps, and we've been in this energy justice battle for the last 5 years.
Okay.
Involved as an actual legal intervener in Public Service Commission cases around how We Energies produces their rates.
Right.
And so this particular case, again, is something we saw on the horizon years ago. Been joining Tom and the Cub team and some of our other partners across the state just to raise the alarm about this whole issue. And so as we get into the details, you'll see it's just completely unfair. It's an opportunity for people to step up, and you calling out the right names when you talk about state legislators and public officials.
Okay, all right. To me, and this is just my opinion, many times when it comes to these big companies and these contracts, we fall short, and the taxpayers is left holding the bag.
Right.
No matter if they got them big time lawyers, when they come in, they just devour our elected officials. And I'm just being honest. Like we kind of wonder, how did they get that player deal? Like, how did they get that price? How did we end up holding the bag? It's because of the negotiations that's supposed to be going on our behalf. And like Tom said that the negotiations are going on, and they find loopholes in what is being presented, and many times people do come here to set up, especially big conglomerates, and they end up finding a way around what's being said with the loopholes, and then we get the inflation on the back.
Yes, sir. So how our rates are decided in Wisconsin is through a state agency, the Wisconsin Public Service Commission. And the commission basically has 3 appointed commissioners by the governor. And these 3 individuals make the decisions on all of the pricing of utilities across the state. And these decisions that are being made now. What's important that listeners should understand about this tariff is the tariff decides who pays and who pays what.
Oh, wow. So why in Microsoft just, you if anything extra, it just go to y'all? Why can't they just say that?
That's the idea. I mean, I think,
you know what I mean? It's simple. Okay, if we get an extra surge, all extra go to y'all. Y'all got to pay. Y'all got to foot the bill.
Yep, and we got to hold them to it. So they put together a deal that doesn't provide tough enough financial guarantees. It doesn't have long enough contracts. It only applies to just really the mega-sized data centers and not all of them. So we think the Public Service Commission has a job right now to make it right. And most people haven't heard of a Public Service Commission, right? I mean, we call it the 3 most people in state government that nobody's ever heard of, because they tell us what we pay for power, what we pay for water, and they set the course.
So they got names.
They set the course for the Wisconsin.
We need some names now. We need some email addresses.
We're going to give you some information in a minute. But they set the course for what kind of energy future we're going to have too, but by deciding which power plants get built, which ones don't.
All of our commissioners appointed by Governor Evers currently, the chair is Summer Strand, Christy Naito, and Marcus Hawkins. Those are the 3 individuals, and they're all appointed by the governor. Governor, who's also a co-chair of the U.S. Climate Alliance as well. And so this is all really important, but to Tom's earlier point, the vision and the expectation is not lining up with what we see in the actual process and the negotiation, as you mentioned it.
Well, people in the chat is already saying from what they hearing, so taxes about to go up again. That's what they kind of hearing from when they say that all of these data centers is coming through with the AI and the surge, and
it's a significant chance
they're building more infrastructure. Could the cost be avoided or being passed on to the taxpayer?
We've seen it done in other states where they passed plans that actually work better for consumers, and that's why we actually need legislation too, because we need a statewide approach. I like to talk about this example in Ohio where the utility actually got burned by crypto and Bitcoin companies that came in.
Oh, wow.
And for crypto mining, and they needed a lot of energy infrastructure for that. And guess what? They didn't stay. They only lasted a few years, and then they left town. And then the ratepayers in Ohio were on the hook. And so what happened then the data centers came in, and the utility actually was just as concerned as our counterpart, the consumer advocate over in Ohio. So the utility and the consumer group worked together to come up with a plan that had longer contract terms, more tougher provisions, and they passed that in which Ohio's public utility regulator passed that. And then what happened? Then all the data centers said, we're going to go to a different utility where all those consumer protections aren't in place. And so our concern is even if the PSE makes this the best, even insulates We Energy's customers, we got to make sure that the rest of the customers across the state are protected too. And so a statewide approach is really needed, and legislation is needed for that.
Okay, well, we got to run the break. When we come back, we got some questions. How many jobs would this provide for the community? Is this something that we should be concerned about when it comes to pollution? What are some of because I hear a lot of people saying with these data centers, what are the main concerns? And when we come back, we want to talk about that, Antonio. But when we come back, we're going to have more conversation. We're talking about We Energy. We're talking about the surge in energy expected to happen with these AI data centers. We're going to have more conversation when we get back. We got a conversation that I think that y'all should be paying attention to right now, because it involves you. It involves your taxes. It involves these data centers that are popping up. And you see a lot of people giving a little pushback. But lately, they're talking about the cost of the energy surge. We Energy was on the news last week talking about the preparing for an energy surge. And many times with that, I wonder would that cost be passed on to us most times. But we got Tom Content in the studio, and we got Anthony and Antonio Butts in the studio to talk about this. And I appreciate y'all for coming through.
No, it's great to be with you.
Yes, sir.
And look, when we talk about what's going on with the elected officials and the groups that are handling this situation, where are we right now at this moment?
At this moment, well, our legislature gave tax breaks for data centers 3 years ago and kind of set the ball in motion. And other states took a different approach where they negotiated those tax breaks in exchange with that statewide approach and the consumer protections I was talking about earlier. So we're kind of playing, over in the Capitol, they're playing catch-up, and part of that catch-up's happening tomorrow when there's going to be a Senate hearing on a bunch of data center bills. And I'm expecting a lot of people to testify and say, hey, let's get the rules of the road right before we go down any further down this path.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that where we are now is energy affordability has been an issue in Milwaukee for quite a long time. What we know from our work at Walnut Way as an intervener in rate cases is that it's a known 60,000 residents who have energy affordability issues. We know that about 50 megawatts of energy can take care of those residents. When we think about how much energy We Energies is preparing to produce for data centers, it's more than 20 times those 50 megawatts.
Wow. I was talking about the elected officials because many times my listeners just want to know who to call, how to get involved, and where should they put the energy to try to help.
And right now the action is over in the state Senate because we've got data center bills that are pending over in the state Senate because the Assembly already passed something, which we don't think actually accomplishes a lot and actually couldn't do more harm than good. But there's a hearing tomorrow about the data center bills. And speaking of taxpayers, the Senate also has a bill to give new tax breaks for nuclear plants. And one of the reasons for they're looking for those tax breaks is because the utilities and the data centers are trying to build have more nuclear power to feed the data centers. But tax breaks could be given for those projects in advance. So
now before we went to break, I've seen people complain about just data centers, like having them in the community. What is the main concern with citizens and residents with the AI data centers?
I mean, I think there's a lot of community concerns. I was at a meeting last week in Port Washington where a lot of the people are very concerned. They're concerned about the energy use and then the impact on the water system, in part because of the water that is needed for a data center, but even more water is needed for the power plants that are needed to feed the data center. So there's some water challenges, and it's for a town that's not expecting it. It's very disruptive. It's a lot of change overnight. The benefits are, there is a tax benefit for the community that sites it. But, there are questions about how many permanent jobs they actually create. But it does create a lot of construction jobs while it's happening. And
infrastructure.
So you're seeing a lot of unions saying, hey, we want to see these things get built and the power plants get built because of the, construction jobs are happening an area of interest, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. To Tom's point about the water and water usage, I know a lot of people have been doing their own research to understand, one question in a chat bot is a certain number of gallons of water, as an example. But when we just talk about environmental issues and climate issues in general, the state of Wisconsin has very clear goals around sustainability and what our expectations are of ourselves by 2050.
Right.
And with the governor being a co-chair of the U.S. Climate Alliance and us already having very clear goals outlined, we have a vision and a path. So it's really important to hold We Energies accountable and keep them in alignment with the criteria and the threshold we expect from them in this issue. If we have to drill for more coal, use more oil, that takes us away from our long-term climate goals. And what that does is it puts the burden on the future, the children now, the young people now.
Yeah, now, and we're paying for coal. Coal is not cheap, and we're paying. The Trump administration, just recently announced a plan to keep coal plants open around in various states, and it just happened in Michigan. And we're nonpartisan, but from an affordability perspective, this is actually raising prices, and not just for Michiganders, because the Michigan utility turned around and said, "Well, we were trying to shut this baby down. We don't want to reopen it." And now it's costing them hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're trying to spread it across all of the upper Midwest states, including Wisconsin. So we've got issues that we're trying to tackle.
Now, we just had an energy hike.
Yeah, prices just went up January 1st.
So this year,
get ready for more.
We just had an energy increase.
Right.
In what you said, around 31% or so.
31% is the cost for the typical customer over the last 4 years, from where things were in 2022 to where they are now.
Okay, so now we're going into another increase or potential increase.
Right. Usually, the utility, We Energies usually comes in late March, early April, around that time frame, and they usually try to ask for an increase, and we expect this year to be no different, and it would be an increase over the next 2 years.
Oh, wow. So possibly
we have no idea the size.
Upwards of maybe it's 40 to 50%.
Well, if going back to 2022, yeah, exactly. I mean, prices have already gone up by a third just over the last 4 years, and so that would be, if we had layered on another 10%, that'd be 10% over 40% over 6 years. If that were to, we don't know what they're going to file though.
What can people do? Because we talking about it, I think we mentioned the elected officials, the state representatives, but what do we need to do to really make an impact, to really let our voices be heard when it comes to this? Because sometimes we'll hear this information and we'll be like, oh, they're already going to do whatever they got going on. They already got it planned. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, it's true. And there's always something we can do. And we all know there's something that we always can do. And each individual can contribute in many ways. But this particular process, hearings were held around this tariff, and the public comment period is open for one more day. So people do have an opportunity to go to the Wisconsin Public Service Commission website and put a comment in terms of their own story and how this will impact them and their families. But then along the lines of the things that you were mentioning earlier and talking to Tom about just politically, how should we start to show up? Because this issue isn't going away.
Right.
And it's going to take us a while to negotiate our way through this. And so to your point, if we can keep it on the radar, keep it front and center for folks.
Keep talking about it.
Yes, sir.
Because once it fall off, they get to operate without the community input or knowledge of actually what takes place. Many times we'll hear about it, then it'll go away, and then about the next time we heard about it, it's already a done deal.
And that's I appreciate you saying that, because that's why Walnut Way became an official intervener. We Energies has the largest philanthropy in the state of Wisconsin. For Walnut Way, a nonprofit, to decide that it's going to be an intervener in utility rate cases while the largest philanthropic organization is on the other side of the battle.
Oh, wow. Microsoft?
We Energies.
Oh, We Energy. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, they say it's many times it's a monopoly in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, every utility has its own territory that's their own, basically. So Madison has a utility just for Madison, and We Energies has southeastern Wisconsin and Appleton, Fox Valley, parts of the Fox Valley.
So they'll never let another energy company come in and compete.
And that's why the job of those three commissioners and the Public Service Commission is so important. There's a national leader that's talking about energy affordability now. I'm named Charles Hua. He grew up in Wisconsin. He calls them across the country the 200 Supreme Court justices of energy.
Wow!
Because that's how important they are. And I wouldn't get out of bed if everybody was throwing up their hands and saying, I can't fight City Hall, right? And what's different now, I think, is people are more aware than they've ever been. Affordability. When I was a reporter covering this stuff, my stories would be inside the business section. But this data center and affordability together, it's a top tier issue now. Look what happened out east. A rate freeze was one of the planks for the governors of New Jersey and Virginia that just won in the fall. And and then you look at the recent polling in Wisconsin and nationally, where that it doesn't matter if you're independent, it doesn't matter if you're Democratic, it doesn't matter if you're Republican. We're a 51-49 state when it comes to elections, but it's a 10-point margin with people thinking that the costs of data centers outweigh the benefits right now.
So if incomes aren't increasing, if inflation is truly rising, then it's incumbent upon us to figure out how to help people keep money in their home, not have money extracted out of their homes.
Well, look, when we come back, I want to get y'all final thoughts. The community right now, we have so many fires, and taxes is going up. Wheel taxes, sales taxes. We energy that went up.
That's right.
All I'm saying is, where's the relief? And it don't seem like it's coming no time too soon with this conversation. But when we get back, I want to get y'all final thoughts on what y'all feel needs to, what actions and things that people need to be up on top of in the next coming months. Because you said this is going to be a long, drawn-out issue. But like I said, we got to make sure that we are staying in tune with this, because this directly affects us. Talking about energy surging. We're talking about data centers, and we're talking about We Energy, all in the conversation right now about ultimately how do we move forward with these data centers coming into our communities. Over the last couple months, we've been seeing community members challenge the ideal of these data centers, and we have also seen an increase in the energy bill since the beginning of this year. So we try to make sense of it all. We got Tom, Content, and Antonio, but in the studio, how do we make sense of a lot of this? Can we make sense of this, or how can we make sure that we get involved to where we're not so reactionary.
I think that's the key. I think that the more people participate in these processes, the better. We all lose if we just sit on our hands and don't do anything. And so that's why, Cubs have been around for over 40 years, and we've been in rate cases for a long time. And we used to fight Ma Bell back when I was a kid, when there was one big AT&T back in the day.
Oh, wow.
When they were trying to raise prices. But now this case involving the data centers and whether they'll pay their fair share is probably the biggest non-rate case that we've been involved in 45 years. And people can still get involved. There was a hearing last week, but as Antonio said, people can still submit their comments by tomorrow, by the end of the day tomorrow. So on our website, we have a data centers page, and if you go to cubwi.org and click on our data centers page, we've got a direct link to that public comment form where you can just speak your piece about what you want to see as things move forward.
Yeah, well, again, 100%. Definitely contact your state legislator, local public officials, not just to ask them to do something, but they should have a position on this issue. So you shouldn't be
should be telling you what they're going to do.
You should not be able to reach out to a public official who does not have a position on this issue with the understanding that it will impact you and your household. Right. What folks can do, because this is a marathon, this is a long battle, is support the organizations who are on the front line. So Citizens Utility Board, to Tom's point, has been around for 40 years. It's a statewide agency. We can pour into that organization and become members. We can become active in work that's happening at Walnut Way, Metcalf Community Bridges. There are a number of organizations who are collectively working to basically, push back on the issue and influence the process. And be at the table. And so it's actively happening. There's a base that exists, and it's an opportunity for people to connect with that base and help us be able to tip the scale and have more influence on this issue.
Mo the Elephant says, what is the website again?
CUB, like Cub, WI.org. So cubwi.org.
Cubwi.org if you want to submit.
Yep, and then just look for the data center. There's an updates tab, and just look for data centers, and you'll get right there. You scroll down, and it says submit your comment here. So
many times when I'm in the neighborhood, in the community, we don't get this information until after it's all over with, Mm-hmm. And I thank you for coming in and really kind of shedding light on this conversation, especially what can we do as people. Many times we hear these conversations, we kind of go on about our business, and then months from now, we like, well, where was this? How come we didn't know? That's no longer the excuse. You can go get involved, get active, and make sure that your voice are heard. You said there was a hearing coming up tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the deadline for public comments. They had a hearing last week. It was just only on Zoom, but dozens of people, scores of people showed up for that. And then, but the same case, they're saying we still want more input. And so tomorrow.
And this is on Zoom, or this is just you got to be there
Zoom,
live?
Now you just type in your comments.
Okay.
Now you just type in your comments you can do it on your phone, on your computer, whatever you got.
And if people need assistance here in the city, you can stop down at the YWCA. Folks are on hand to help folks enter their comments.
YWCA at
Martin Luther King Drive here in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm.
All right, look, YWCA on Martin Luther King Drive. If y'all got any questions, look, I'll say this. We cannot sit back and watch these things happen, because that way we become vulnerable. And especially in my neighborhood, in my community, where a lot of people were already questioning the high energy costs. Oh, yeah. And many times when you don't say nothing and you don't work to try to resolve it, and your voice is not being heard, you gotta hold the water after. You gotta hold that bucket.
Hey, it's true. Real quick, one of the things that we've been working on with Tom, and that we actually collectively we saved 2 years ago, was the LIFT program. The payment program when you call in the We Energies to set up your payment arrangements. That program
Energy assistance.
That was on the chopping block, the LIFT program.
Okay.
It was on the chopping block. And we all work collectively to prevent that from happening. And so we do have influence as a community, as ratepayers.
Your voices are powerful. And I was trying to tell people, when you give your power to someone else, you lose it. But when you keep your power, you can consistently make change. And this is why I say over and over again, you got to be about that action. Because once you start being about that action, there's accountability. We can't scream accountability and not show up. And it don't work like that. But they say faith without works is dead. If you want accountability, you got to let your voice be heard.
Exactly. So short term, file that comment by tomorrow. Medium term, all these candidates, whether it's for governor or legislature or Senate, they're going to be coming saying, I want your vote. Well, you should ask them, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about energy affordability?
Right.
And then long term, once they're all back in office, take part in all. Get with us, find out information, sign up for our updates, and we'll keep you informed and let you know how you can participate in more of these cases down the road.
If you had vacant lots, several acres, and you wanted to put enough solar to take care of the city, I want you to know it's illegal.
Oh, wow. So we'd have to go through court to try to make that happen. You can't just do it.
That's right.
So you can't set up another alternative energy idea without going to court. You can if you get some of them lawyers that the Bucks got and the Brewers. If you get them lawyers, you might can come in and shake something. You feel me? You can't just get an average guy. You got to get the big dogs. You got to come with that big. You got to have a big purse.
To that point, our participation in the cases year in and year out, on average, we spending more than six figures on legal fees just participating in the cases.
Oh, wow. Just participating.
Just being there for folks who were never in part of that process before, and it's a great thing that they're involved.
Well, Tom, Antonio, I'm going to get y'all final words before we run the break.
Hey, I just want to say we appreciate you and really appreciate this opportunity. We have to normalize this issue. And so if you want to know more or learn more, you definitely connect with us at the Walnut Way Conservation Corps, and we'd be happy to share and tie you into all of the work that we're doing on the ground.
Powerful.
Yeah, and this stuff may be wonky or technical at times, but that doesn't matter because we're trying to put it in plain language for folks because this has been too wonky for too long. And when the utilities get their way, when they say, "Don't worry, it's complicated, we got this," and then who wins? The utility shareholders, and who doesn't? The rest of us paying the bills. So that's why we want people to stay involved and stay and learn, be ready to learn more. And so come to our website, learn more, and we'll love to be back on the show anytime.
Well, look, Tom. Well, look, Antonio, I appreciate the conversation today. Look, a lot of gems went out there in the community. Y'all got to be about that action. You know, I tell y'all can't just be just looking up and then all of a sudden thinking that, Jesus going to come and help you. Jesus said, faith without works. You got to get to work. You got to let your voice be heard. You got to speak up, speak out when you see things going on. And this is one of those conversations that you got to talk to your elected official about. They should already have a prepared attack or plan for this. And if they don't, you may not have the right person representing you. Okay?
You know what? Matter of fact, I think I better let him introduce himself. Yeah. Tory Lowe about that action. 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 Max said. Tory Lowe about that action. 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 If you win Milwaukee.
It starts with a spark at Milwaukee College Prep. That spark turns into something extraordinary. From age 3 to 8th grade, MCP nurtures brilliance, building scholars with knowledge, character, and confidence. 88% of students face economic hardship, but that doesn't define them because at MCP, every child's potential shines. With 4 campuses and 1 powerful mission, College and Beyond, Milwaukee College Prep is free, high-performing, and open to all Milwaukee families. Visit MilwaukeeCollegePrep.com to enroll or get involved. That's MilwaukeeCollegePrep.com, where Milwaukee's future begins to shine. All right, I want to get into this story where this parent goes up to the school to try to beat the staff up over a cell phone. that was taken from her daughter. And this ain't the first time I done heard a story like this. But we got video. If you're watching as we broadcast live, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's listen.
Friday the 13th, notoriously considered unlucky. That may be true for one Milwaukee Public Schools parent. 33-year-old Yeshiva Daniels is accused of entering Green Tree Prep Academy last Friday the 13th without permission, attacking school safety officers, and threatening to, quote, come back and shoot the expletive up. Milwaukee police say they responded to a battery in progress around 3:30 p.m. A female school safety officer told them she and another aide told a 14-year-old student she was not allowed to have her phone during the day and needed to go to class. The student allegedly became disrespectful and threatened to call people to the school. According to this criminal complaint, Daniels came into the school during dismissal and immediately started punching the female safety officer. The woman told police Daniels' daughter and two other students started hitting and punching her. Two other safety officers, a male and female, told officers they tried to break up the fight but were also hit multiple times. All three safety officers reported pain. In this statement to families, MPS says it will take appropriate action against the student who participated. Daniels was issued a no trespass order and is now banned from school grounds. She's charged with 2 counts of battery to a school district employee as party to a crime, terrorist threats, and disorderly conduct.
Terroristic threats. Wow. See, all right, I'll say this. You know, she went up there and made a situation worse than it could have been. You know, she was going to get the phone back. You know, they don't keep the phones. I mean, or whatever the situation is, she had, you know, she made it, she should have been revved up. She came into the school revved up. And this is why I try to tell people, you cannot go into a place of business revved up. Even though your child is in there or even though something is going on with the school, you got to come in there with a level head because it's a business. You can't act like you out in the streets in a business setting. There are laws. You can go to jail. She got terroristic threats. Now she's sitting somewhere in the jail cell wishing that she hadn't have done it. I know she wishes she had have done it because sometimes when you are emotionally driven, after all the emotions subside, a lot of people regret that they acted out because now you got to face the real repercussions of your actions. And why would you go up in the school and try to fight staff members and resource officers and things like that? For what? For what? Like, now you got tickets, fines. You got huger issues on your hands now. And now you're banned from the campus. I remember it was a situation that happened at Brown Deer High School where the mother went up there with an attitude and they banned her from coming into the school. And I was like, can you even pick your child up? Now you can't even go up there and your child is in the school, is still going to school there, and you can't even go up there to check on your child or anything. That is dumb. That is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, make it make sense. And when you go up there with the attitude, they will put these restrictions on you, especially to y'all hothead parents. I call them hothead parents. And you wonder why the kids act the way they act. Well, I'm finna come up to the school and I'm about to shut it down. No, you will never shut one of these schools down. Even look, the lead poisoning coming through the school didn't even shut the school down. Like, asbestos downstairs, we had to fight to get the lead cleared out of these schools. You is not finna go up there and do nothing to these schools. Some parents going up there trying to beat the teacher up. I had teachers call me because they were assaulted by parents. That's tough. We had Dr. Tamika Johnson in the studio last week talking about this very situation. Now the parent up in there trying to swing off on people. Hey, some of y'all thinking right now when something happened up at the school, y'all get the high blood pressure and go up to the school. Calm down. Because you might end up like this parent. domestic threats, terroristic threats. She done stepped on the Homeland Security. She became a domestic terrorist. Okay. That's sad. That's sad, Andrew. Because now she got a child that's still going. Matter of fact, while she going through this, the child's still enrolled at the school. Now the kid's looking up on the TV, seeing that your mama came in there up in the school to beat up. What kind of example is this for your children?
The charges also carry a lot of weight, Tory. Like the domestic terrorist charge right there, that's a felony. That's up to like 9 years in jail, if like maximum.
Wow. And what was this all over?
A cell phone being taken.
All I'm saying is, that's what I thought, is the cell phone was taken. So the parent can go up there and get the cell phone. That's what I'm saying. Like, be calm. You may be able to get the cell phone, probably not at that moment, but they not trying to steal the cell phone. That's all I'm saying. It's tough. 833-212-1017. Parent went up to the school about to shut it down over the cell phone and threatened to shoot the school up, threatened to go and get the pew-pew. This too much. And then we talk about the youth acting a certain way. Well, a lot of people would allude to it's coming from the house. A lot of these kids is a reflection of what's going on inside these homes. Josh in the chat says some of these parents should never had kids. These are kids in adult bodies. Kids raising kids. We got Miss Nikki on the lines. How you doing, Miss Nikki?
Good afternoon, Tory. Thank you so much for taking my call. I'm so happy that you're talking about this situation, and I just hope that you bring Dr. Tamika Johnson back on, because she is a walking wealth of knowledge when it comes to like dealing with trauma and school and things of that nature. But there's a level of education that needs to happen with our parents, and they have to learn how to advocate appropriately for their child, right? Because we have this ideology, and I'm saying we, from what I experienced being an educator inside of schools and dealing with parents, is that the way that we get results is by crashing out and snapping. And it's the total opposite. You don't get the results that you are looking for when trying to advocate on behalf of your child by crashing out and snapping. It happens way too often. And not saying that this parent was wrong in all aspects, right? But it's like, how do we get the community educated? So, especially the parents who have kids inside the schools, to learn how to be a partner with the schools versus saying, hey, you the teacher, this is all your responsibility. You have to do this, you have to do that. But then they don't hold their end of the bargain, right? Unfortunately, a lot of parents don't. There was one principal I had spoke to, Tory, and she said something that went along the lines that you just read from your comments, and is that she said that she has to teach the kids and she teach the parents how to be parents. So a lot of these teachers and these administrators are wearing triple hats, because they're the parent, they're teaching the kids, they're teaching the parent, they're the social worker. There are so many different things wrapped into one. But we have to figure out how to teach our parents how to advocate for their kids the appropriate way. Crashing out, snapping, trying to go to school and fighting is not going to get the job done.
It never has.
No, not at all.
Well, look, I appreciate you for tapping in, Miss Nikki. I told Dr. Tamika Johnson to swing back through, because we got a whole conversation that we need to have when it comes to the education system. And salute to Dr. Tamika Johnson, and thank you, Miss Nikki, for chiming in. But we trying to have these conversations to educate, and many times we got to give you the gems, but you got to activate it yourself. A lot of times, my show been on for 5 years, and I try to bring actual families in and have these discussions. And many times you got to hear what's being said, not only hear, but you got to add a lot of the things to your life. Nobody can make you change your mind or do something that you don't want to do. So I just came to the conclusion that some people just want to act a fool, and that's where they're getting their attention from, and it ain't nothing you're going to do to try to stop them from being in that space. But the people that want to do, I want to talk to and deal with and work with the people that want to make the adjustments, because you can't make somebody that's not listening do anything. It's kind of like a person will never get off drugs unless they go into the rehab facility center on their own, knowing that they have to make that change. If you put them in there, they may not come out the way you think they should. We have to want a better community. The moment we want to do better in our community is the minute it's going to change. So if the community not looking right, that's because we as a whole haven't agreed that we wanted it to look different. And it's just that simple. It's no big rocket science idea. You ain't got to sit around and have no meeting. All you got to do is change the mind frame to say, okay, this is where we going with it. This is what's finna happen. And presto, this is how it happens. You make it complicated, but it's really not complicated. It's that some people just don't want to do it. And then we get people in leadership that make up every excuse in the world. Sound like one of them losing basketball coaches. I ain't gonna say no names, but they always explaining why the loss. They only, talking, having a press conference why we losing. But the good coaches always get on the TV and talk about the inspiration and the motivation about how we winning. Sometimes I get calls and people need situations resolved. And today I got a call from North Carolina. Today, a woman called me from North Carolina, Truth Nation. Now, she follows me on Facebook, and I think she been following me for the last 4 or 5 years. But she hit me up and said she needed help, and I thought she was living here in the city or around the area. And she said, no, I'm in North Carolina. I said, it ain't nobody in North Carolina that can help. Andrew, it ain't nobody in North Carolina, that can probably assist.
There's only one Tory Lowe.
All I'm saying is, so this is the kind of stuff that runs through my brain. When people say how far they live, I said, so what's the issue? Now, I'm going to tell y'all what the issue was. And I can understand why she reached out, because I deal with a lot of this stuff. I just never dealt with it out in North Carolina. But this is what she said. I'm gonna read it to you straight from Facebook. This is what she said. She said, yesterday, I sent my son to get his sister from the park. She was coming in as he walked out. So while he was walking out to go get her, I guess she came through the back door into the house. So he kept going to the park, not knowing that his sister had came in the house. So what happened 15 minutes later, he came home with a white boy. And the white boy was crying and shaking. She said she apologized to the little boy and explained to her son, who is autistic, that you can't do things like that. The son saying he brought him because he was the last person that was with his sister. Like, I guess he saw this kid playing with his sister at the park. So when he got to the park and didn't see his sister, and he's autistic, in his mind, he bringing the little boy to his mom to try to explain where the sister went, not knowing that his sister already came in the house. Well, the son said he brought the boy because he was the last person that was seen with the sister. The police got involved and made a report. This is what the mother said. The police got involved and made a report. This was around 4 p.m. yesterday. And she goes on to say they left saying that they got the boy's statement and he wasn't harmed. He didn't cause any real major harm to the child. Later that night, she said that the police circled back around 2 a.m. with a warrant for kidnapping. With a warrant for kidnapping. I'm like, whoa, a warrant for kidnapping? Well, don't they know he autistic? Don't they know he has medical history, mental health history? And the little boy that he took from the park was 14. I asked her, how old was the son? I said, how old was your son? She said her son is 21 years old, but he has the mind of a 12-year-old. I understand when you have, and I've had adults that they got the adult body, but due to certain mental health issues, they may have a younger mind, or underdeveloped sense of what's going on. So the police came and pulled the kid out the house, or the son, who is 21. I guess I can't call him a kid. Age-wise, he's 21. But mentally, she's still working with him. As you know, he's still a child mentally in his thoughts. So I said, when was the last time he had a kind of mental health crisis? She said 2 weeks ago he was delusional and she had to check him into the mental health 2 weeks ago. But what happened was she moved to this small area in North Carolina where there's not many black people. And it's a mostly white neighborhood. And, you know, something happened. The parents wanted to press charges. So she showed me, I guess they got a group chat. I guess this neighborhood has a group chat that the mothers are part of. And she sent me the screenshots of the group chat. And this is what one of the people in the group chat said. They said her son dragged the little boy from the pond. That's a pretty big distance. I'm sure multiple homes have this on camera. And then she goes on to ask the mother of the little boy, does your son remember the route they took to get to this house and what time that he took him? So I guess they were in the group chat going back and forth about her son while she was watching. And she couldn't say nothing because, you know, you don't want to say anything. But the police said that the little white child had no harm done to him. But since the parents or the mother wants to create a bigger situation, she wants to press charges, and he's 21. They came and took him at 2 a.m. this morning and charged him with kidnapping in this small town. So here we go. So I got on my, you know, I had to hear the whole situation. I asked her a few questions about her son, his medical history. How often has he been troubled in this area? Does he have medical records and things like that? Okay, let me see if we can get him a mental health evaluation. And in most states, you can get a mental health evaluation depending on the state. So here in Wisconsin, if somebody with mental health is doing certain things, you can kind of get a Chapter 51. And that helps try kind of get a medical evaluation. It gives you know, the person a chance to get evaluated. You got to have two different medical examiners. And if they come back and say that the mental health is not right, then they can go into a medical state and get that kind of attention from that. Well, in North Carolina, it's called a Chapter 122C. It's almost identical to Wisconsin. So off the top, I kind of went and kind of looked up and tried to see what do they call it in North Carolina. I told her to go to the magistrate office, fill out an affidavit to get that, you know, in the courts so a judge can get him evaluated. Understand what I'm saying? So this is something that took place all the way in North Carolina. She said everybody around her, all the North Carolina people, she said she know a lot of people in North Carolina that know who I am. I just, sometimes you don't know. But you got to be about that action, so it's universal. So like I said, I'm waiting for her to go fill out the affidavit, and now if they accept the affidavit with his medical history, knowing that he has mental complications, they should put him through the process. Now, if they don't, I may have to reach back in the bag, hit some attorneys up that's from that area, and have them get involved with the situation. Because now, if he was one of those people that was out here causing trouble, I wouldn't have went that far. But since I know he's autistic, and I know that he has mental health, that's how I got involved. Because sometimes in Milwaukee, a lot of people mistake grown bodies or grown-ups with mental health. They don't have the what I say, the understanding that, yeah, this person may be 21, but mentally, according to their medical records, they need help. And I told them, I tried to ask the mother, did she get a conservatory to try to help with the guardianship? And I think she was going through the process of doing that too. So I'll keep y'all update on it and see if what the outcome is. Not really. A City Girl says this is a sticky one, but I don't see what the harm is. It's petty at best. Yeah, but a lot of things happen when white women get upset and then black men involved. And the police left. The police saw that it wasn't any harm to the child. But when she sent me the chat records and I saw that they were in the chat plotting, it explained a lot why they came back with the kidnapping charges, because what they was going to charge him with. So the only thing they could have charged him with is kidnapping, because the kid wasn't harmed. He was just moved from the park and brought to the house because the son thought he can explain what happened to his sister, not even knowing that his sister had came in the house while he was on the way to the park. So little stuff like this, little situations like this can change that boy's life forever. And this ain't the first time in history where little situations, it was a situation where they said that a man whistled at a woman in the elevator and they burnt down the whole town. It could get crazy. But we gonna try to keep track of this. This is my first time dealing with anything in North Carolina like this. Out of Tampa Bay, a church prophetess indicted in federal crime scheme. The prophetess, somebody with, God told him, going to jail. God gave me the vision. Going to jail. Indicted in a federal scheme in Tampa Bay. We got video on this. If you're watching this, we broadcast live. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Let's listen.
Well, a third person has now been indicted in the federal case against the Kingdom of God Global Church, and the church leader is facing more charges after he and his two executives were accused of operating a money laundering and forced labor operation. Let's bring in Fox 13's Kylie Jones. Joining us on our newsroom with the latest developments on this ongoing case. Kylie, what more did you find out?
Well, Mark, if you remember, that whole operation was uncovered this past summer. David Taylor is the man allegedly behind it all, and again, he referred to himself as apostle. Well, he's now facing some new federal charges related to trafficking. But we're also learning from a new indictment that a third person has been charged in this case. That is Kathleen Klein, who, according to that indictment, was known as Prophetess. The feds say Klein and Michelle Brannon, who was also arrested in Tampa Bay back in the summer, helped Taylor run call centers around the country. The FBI raided a number of those call centers, including one inside this mansion in the affluent Avila neighborhood in Hillsborough County. Court documents previously revealed the workers inside these call centers were allegedly put through mental and physical abuse, while the head honchos were spending millions of dollars in earnings on luxury items. Now, Klein is being named in those documents, and she's accused of being another enforcer of Taylor's demands and punishments. The indictment includes texts that Klein allegedly sent to the managers of a Houston center threatening heavy labor and physical abuse.
Oh, wow.
Now, meanwhile, Taylor, who's been behind bars since his arrest in August, is facing new charges of conspiracy to establish peonage, slavery, involuntary servitude, or trafficking. This new indictment accuses him of requesting and receiving sexually explicit pictures and videos from female victims within the church. The feds say some of those victims were afraid of disobeying Taylor. Now, the Kingdom of God Global Church, which was also previously known as Joshua Media Ministries, does appear to still be operating in some capacity. Last month, the church filed documents demanding its money and assets back because the church itself hadn't been charged with wrongdoing. And according to the church's YouTube page, which we checked earlier today, it's still holding Sunday services, with the most recent one being posted this weekend. Mark.
All right, Kelly.
Oh, wow. You know, God gave me this vision. And God called me to do this work, but send your breast to my phone. You know what I mean? What? Hey. Like, okay. All right. I don't know. Like, how do you fall for this? How do you fall for this? If you're reading the Bible, how do you fall for this? How you become enslaved through your spiritual beliefs? And why are these people, some of these people, when they get high and mighty and say God told them to do this and do that, why are they hypersexual? Why these people are always hypersexual people? You know what I mean? Like, okay. All right, I'll say this. A lot of this is cult. And it sounds like cult ideas. Like David Koresh on that level, you know, where he the only one that can move around how you going to enslave somebody when they become a member of your church? Like, but some people, hey, they got the psychological advantage on some people. You know what I mean? It seems like when you see this type of stuff, it just makes me wonder what, even if you don't agree with the principles of the Bible, even if you are not a big fan of the Bible, where in the Bible do it says you can act like this? And then if you're following Jesus, where does Jesus say you need to have material items, cars, lavish ideas? You know what I mean? Like, that, to me, it's just confusing sometimes. And so I guess, you know, it's bots. That's why I say when you a bot, you might end up at this church. Because you don't do no research. It's a lot of bots out here. I know there's a lot of bots running around. But you can, I mean, it's not safe to be a bot because you can end up at this ministry because they said that God told them that, I hate when people come to me and say, telling me what God told them. No, don't do that. God can talk to me. I don't know. I just wonder sometimes. It just makes me scratch my head to see people in today's times falling for stuff like this. With all the access we have to the internet, with all the research you could be doing, especially if you just reading the Bible, and if you looking at the Bible and you looking at what they doing, so where's the discernment? And then they said that he was treating people like slaves. Like, so you followed this man that claimed that he knew God into slavery? Wow. Hey, we got Deja on the phone. How you doing, Deja?
I'm doing good, Tory Lowe.
Bless his queen.
How are you?
Fine. Hey, I'm just shaking in my head at sometimes when these people go super religion. I don't understand how they equate religion with material items and being hypersexual. I'd have been like, this ain't in the Bible.
I mean, it's not. I mean, it's really simple. It's just people who are not actually taking the word for what it is and trying to cherry pick it and twist it to their own, for their own bidding or doing.
Right.
Really, that's all it is. It's people who really are seeking, to inhabit the power of God, quote unquote, and have people follow after them and stuff like that, and have this God complex as if they're not human and dust like the rest of us, And one thing that people who are susceptible very easily to that, who don't have discernment, people will literally subscribe to that without actually having a discernment or knowledge as well to understand what a true teacher of the Word of God really is. Because a teacher, a pastor, they're not going to sit there and do anything for self-gain.
Right.
They're going to actually make sure that you're going to get saved. That's their job. So they're going to teach you the Word of God, not use it to make money and
have you sending pictures to their phone. That would be a red flag to me.
And
like,
that too.
All right, you at the church, you listening to the powerful message. All of a sudden, after the word go by, pastor tell you to send him a couple little pictures to his phone. Like, what? What are you talking about?
That's not a pastor. That's a wolf. That's a wolf.
I'm just saying.
It's that simple. That's a wolf in sheep's
People talk about red flags, but I don't know if people actually reading the scriptures, or I don't know, because I would have been like, what you say again? Like, you send some pictures, like they putting people in slavery. Like they charging me for trying to put people in a slavery type condition.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate to those people who just really lack common sense or also self-autonomy. You got to draw the line somewhere. You have to say, you know what, this don't even sound like God. What am I doing here?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, unfortunately, there are wolves in sheep's clothing who will prey on people who are truly actually trying to seek to be saved and use their vulnerability against them for their own gain. And that's unfortunate. And unfortunately, the synagogues and the churches and the pulpits, it's running rampant in there. And that actually is one of the signs for, the end. Unfortunately,
Right.
There'll be a lot of people deceived.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you for tapping in, Deja. Hey, look, this is wild and crazy. I thought that people have elevated, at this point. But look, being a bot is real. Beep, 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 beep. You ain't checking the facts. You just going around just, willy-nilly. You might end up back in one of these churches, I'm trying to tell you. And I started laughing because, we as black people, we faced with a lot of different challenges. And sometimes, she was being a teacher and then funding her rap career, from that salary. But when they gave her the ultimatum, she felt like, hey, I'm finna choose to be a rapper. Well, I guess she made a rap video about it, about the whole thing. But like I said, like, we some of the most creative people in the world. And sometimes you have to go, work for a little bit until you can get to your dream. I don't know what made them try to make her decide between teaching and rap. But I thought that this was an interesting situation. Once again, a female rapper, a teacher, allegedly fired over her rap career. This happened back in 2024. Somebody was talking to me. And after this, I'm gonna ask my question of the day. I got a question of the day that pertains to just kind of the ideal of this situation. But let's head over to Detroit and see what took place with this situation.
By now, Drippin' Honey's music video, Drippin' 101, has been seen by tens of thousands across numerous social media platforms. And it combines two of her passions, rapping and some of the students she's taught. That's right, a U.S. history teacher who's moonlighting as a rapper. But last month, she was forced out of her teaching job, and it started with a parent's complaint.
That's when the first meeting was with my dean and the principal, and they were just telling me like, hey, a parent said that they seen your social media and that you're a black influence because you're a rapper.
Drippin' Honey's real name is Dominique Brown. She says that the parent continued to complain even though the educator was named Teacher of the Month. Despite asking for a complaint in writing, Dominique says she never received it. And Dominique believes that she was discriminated against.
I was like, hey, well, can we tell the parent to come in and see professionalism, see me in the classroom, see me after school, see me at all the games, see me dropping kids off every day, buying food, doing all these things. Can they come see me in my element before they try to say I'm unprofessional in it?
Was there at any point anything that was brought up that said your rap career may have, the lyrics that you use may have been a bad influence on some of the students that you had?
Well, the parents would just stay anonymous, and she didn't really give too much detail on what she did or didn't like, and the school didn't give me too much detail either. Music is part of the culture. We from Motown. This is what we do. So it's not like it's unheard of. It's the culture. And when you look like me, you just understand it a little more better, that it's not that I'm trying to deter these kids from stopping their dreams.
In a statement, a spokesperson for Taylor Preparatory High School, which is a charter school, said they're aware of Brown's allegations, but student and employee privacy rights limit what they can say. The statement went on to say, quote, student well-being remains at the forefront of everything we do, and we will continue fostering a distraction-free teaching and learning environment focused on student success.
All right. We got the story. I mean, what I'm saying is, should you be put in a situation to deny your dreams or have a job? So that's my question of the day. If you were given a choice to work a job, and maybe it's a career, or work on your dream, which one would you choose? Now, sometimes when you go work on your dream, you may not get paid. You may not get a check. But you working on your dreams, I don't think that rap paid the bills for her. But I believe that she was working on it. They put her in a situation to choose between working a job and pursuing her dream. She chose to pursue her dream, but at the same time, a lot of people get put in this situation. Do you work and try to, go that route? Or do you pursue your dreams? All I'm saying is, what would you choose? What would you choose? Would you choose to pursue your dreams? Or would you just wake up and go to work? 833-212-1017. Now, going to work may pay the bills. Going to work may keep you from being homeless. But many times when you pursue your dream, it may take some time for that to manifest, and you may not have money coming in to actually stay afloat. It's a lot of people that before they became extremely famous, they got the story that they was homeless. Because sometimes your dream don't pay like that. Your dream don't pay on Fridays. That dream check don't come on Friday like that. So if you had a choice between getting a check and pursuing your dream, which one would it be? Job or your dream? This teacher obviously chose her dream. But at the end of the day, was that the right choice? And maybe, because I haven't heard from her. How many views did this video have?
The video that they showed in that news release, Tory, has 447,000 views now.
Okay, 447,000 views. This video was made back in what?
2024.
Okay, so the video was made back in 2024. It has 400,000 views. And her name is, what's her rap name?
Drippin' Honey.
Drippin' Honey. I mean, she pursued her dream, Drippin' Honey. But many of us are working a job and chose to work instead of pursuing our passion. A lot of y'all chose family over dream. 833-212-1017. What choice did you make? Did you choose to work and maintain the family and put your dreams to the side? Or did you go for your dream and everything else suffered? I want to know. 833-212-1017. Mo the Elephant says, this is where transparency is needed. If she is not doing her side gig in the classroom, there should not be a problem. Well, it looked like she had the kids in the video. She made the video with the kids in it. So she was mixing her job with what she was doing in the streets or as a dream.
I don't think you can say that she did the wrong thing because she's chasing her dreams, Tory. However, 800 monthly listeners on Spotify.
Ooh. 800. Right now she got 800 monthly listeners on Spotify?
Yeah, that's what was saying for Drippin' Honey.
So you think that, I don't know if she made the right choice or not, but 800 Spotify views is not powerful, but she still got a right to pursue her dream. That's what I'm saying. A lot of us have been in difficult situations, and we had to choose to either work and maintain or just go for it all and just pursue our dreams, and hopefully it pay off down the road. I want to know, did you have to make a choice? Are you at home right now listening to the show and you a stay-at-home mom, or you were a dad that wanted to take care of the family and you had to go to work, but you wanted to play guitar, or you had a talent that you put to the side to maintain the family or to maintain, some stability? I want to know. 833-212-1017. Did you have to sacrifice your dream for a job? Or vice versa. 833-212-1017. A lot of times we don't get to have these conversations. A lot of y'all got resentment. A lot of y'all holding it in. Y'all didn't pursue y'all dreams and y'all went and worked. And then when you got close to retirement, they cut you off. You know what I mean? They tried to slick you out of your retirement. I don't know.